I can just do that in the editing side. Just take out the mandolin and the voice. The whole thing, really. Alright, let's start the show. Hello and welcome to another edition of Hop Heroes, the show where we talk about our favorite drinks and our favorite heroes. I'm your host, Jordan Nerith, and with me as always, we have talented artists and comic enthusiasts and brand new camera, JR Gonzalez.
Hey.
Yo.
Hey, he gives the fawns.
What's up?
You're looking pretty dark in that brand new camera, bro.
It's like dark in my room and I can't get the light going. So
is there there's no like light on the ceiling? Light on the ceiling?
No light ceiling, and my lamp is fucked up right now, so.
Oh shit. Well, in your bat cave, tune it in. Some crazy shit going on in New England.
In the shadows. You were molded by it.
Now we have fucking Bane.
JR's not Bane, though. He's like the opposite of Bane. He doesn't even deserve that quote.
JR's like Robin's little brother.
Actually, JR has anger like Bane, so I guess there's some overlap.
Yeah.
Dude, I will lift
So
a
does
freaking
Robin.
house, alright? And
Like a
crocodile.
fucking crack addict?
Yeah.
You got that heroin power?
Yep.
So it's football Sunday. We're recording at fucking too early. I don't know what time it is. And JR, you probably have some interesting thoughts about your teams.
Oh,
movement.
yeah. It's
Well,
been
the
a
weekend.
very a roller coaster. I don't want to say like my emotions are played with, or because that's just not how I do. But it's really hard to know what to think about. Are you gonna root for a certain person that you think is super annoying and super counterproductive now that they go to your team, but he's super good, right? So if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, AB Antonio Brown just went to the Patriots like in a whirlwind after being released by the Raiders yesterday, and I'm thinking this guy got whatever he deserved, losing that $30 million. Being a pain in the ass, and then the Patriots pick him up. So I'm like, that's, So I was like, bittersweet. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how he goes, if he makes it or not. I have seen the Patriots just give up, the $9 million. That's nothing, but
Plus 15.
He got a $15 million if he finishes the season. $9 million signing bonus.
Oh, gotcha.
So he's got to finish the season to get the $15 million.
I honestly don't think he can be a diva on the Patriots.
And then we have our third host, Zach Barlow, who
What's up?
has Tom Brady, Josh Gordon, and now Antonio Brown.
I know,
all on
dude.
his fantasy team.
I just realized that.
So you're the New England Patriots, bro.
Jesus.
Throughout
Man,
the entire saga, Zach's reactions to everything Antonio Brown was doing was pure entertainment.
Dude, I don't know why I signed up for this Antonio Brown roller coaster. It's been an up and down situation, but I'm actually happy that he's on the Patriots. I feel like Tom Brady bombing it to AB sounds like fantasy points, and I don't think you can be a diva on the Patriots. I feel like the Patriots are anti-diva because Bill Belichick will just fucking cut you. Like that's a wrap. Like you fuck up one time, you're done. You're out.
Yeah.
And then. So I just feel, and plus I feel like players are like, ooh, I'm on the Patriots now. I might win a Super Bowl. I better figure my shit out.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's a big
same
deal.
thing happened with Randy Moss, and they turned him into a fucking. They went undefeated basically, and they got him. So I mean, if it's the landing spot you probably could have predicted once he got cut. And did you see that video he dropped of his conversation with John Gruden?
Jeez.
It was so ridiculous. I would want to be a Raider, man. You feel like you don't want me to be a Raider. Like, just play fucking football. Just play football, man. It's about
he's ridiculous. It's hard to want to root for him. I mean, he's picked such petty things to do, and it's like, dude, you're still good. Who gives a shit about any of those things? And you should just be on the field all the time.
What's funny about that video is the timing of it. Because right after the Raiders were like, Antonio Brown apologized, it was emotional, and he's going to play on Monday. And you're just like, oh, fuck, okay, it's good. Just play on Monday, great. And then that night, he drops a YouTube video that's like behind the scenes Antonio. Like, it's like he's trying to start his own reality TV show or something.
Like a movie trailer.
Like, yeah.
It's so ridiculous.
Oh, and then it's like you said, and he's like kind of talking like it's like the Raiders clearly didn't let him give him that access to release that. And you see the video and you're just like, why? Stop, dude. Play on Monday. Like, bro, it's just ridiculous, bro.
Just feel the fire. Just destroying the franchise.
I'm telling you, though, he ain't doing that shit on the Patriots. If he does that shit on the Patriots, he's going to get cut real quick.
Get cut. They don't even allow, like, cell phones in the building. In fact, in the meeting rooms, all that stuff has to be left in your locker room. And can you imagine if he catches, like... I mean, no one's even allowed in the Patriot building unless you're an actual Patriot. Like, no media, no nothing, except for the press room. You can't walk around. I mean, it's like the most tight-knit thing to do. And all I can say is if he doesn't, like... I hate to say this word because I don't feel like it's a great word, but if he doesn't conform, do you know what I mean? He's going to be... I mean, he's done. I mean, they're going to be like, oh, you get to go to Buffalo now. Go play for the Bills.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah. Have you guys seen the meme of it's like this is Antonio Brown meeting Josh Gordon?
Yeah,
and it's the scene from Get Out when the black dude meets the other black dude. He's like, "Oh, good to see another brother out here." And then the black dude's like, "Oh, yes,
yes.
Hello, sir.
Welcome.
It's very good to see you." It's just like, what the fuck is going on over here?
I told Sammy about the trade yesterday, and she goes, dude, I swear to God, Belichick has some get out shit going on over there. And then that fucking meme came out. And I was like, oh my God. It's so fucking perfect.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, the saga continues. We'll see how it goes. And then we got our guy in the chair, Vinny McBroom, repping the same jersey.
Yeah,
we twinsies.
We gotta retire this jersey though.
I know.
I was just thinking, like, how do you guys like? I don't know about that jersey anymore.
He's Hall of Fame, bro.
I didn't wear it like at all last season, but I saw Jordan wearing it, so I was like, I'm gonna put it on.
Dude,
I feel like Earl Thomas is gonna go down as one of the greatest Seahawks ever.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, like the way that he ended
especially
his Seattle career,
because we drafted
like,
him too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
like getting carted off the field with a middle finger to the franchise is just like, ooh, yeah, that's.
Yeah. But I'm team ET all the way. Like
for sure,
I flipped off Pete Carroll too at the same time, even though he does great things for our team. It was an emotional
flip
day.
Off Pete.
Anyways, enough about football.
It was an emotional day.
Let's get this shit rolling.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's a katana.
Whoa, dude.
Let's get this rolling.
Oh, he just corrected
Debbie
you.
He's
like,
it's a katana, bitch.
Enough about football. Let's talk about honor in Tokyo.
So today, this morning, we are talking Tokyo Ghost Volume 2. And in Tokyo fashion, we are drinking the second most popular beer from Japan, Kirin Ichiban. It's from Japan Brewing, established in 1888, just after Sapporo, which was on our last episode. It was very similarly brewed because they got German brewers to come and kind of coordinate the brewing process. And Sapporo was trained by German brewing. So pretty much Japan's just like, hey, Germany, tell us how to do this so we can get drunk. And Germany's like, all right. And that's what they did. They went solo and independent in 1907. So Kirin started their own brewing. They use barley and premium hops, 4.9% alcohol percentage. The biggest thing is that it's first press, 100%. So I look up what that meant because I didn't know. And basically what that means is a lot of brewing processes, use the mash and the hops, and they get the runnings from the first batch, and then they reprocess and filter and get running from a second, and they go through 3 to 4 times, sometimes 5. And so they can get everything out of their ingredients. Kirin only uses the first press, and then they discard the ingredients and start over. So they only use the most flavorful ingredients, basically, is their thing. I've never had it before. So
this is my first time, too.
Once again, me and Vinny are holding down the drinking fort for the team because Zach and JR are still fighting the technology front, which makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. Anyways, cheers, Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's definitely a malt liquor.
Yeah.
It's malt liquor?
Yeah, dude. It says right on the can, first press, 100% malt.
Well, it's beer, but it's like, yeah, it's malt.
Dude, it tastes like a malt liquor.
Yeah.
But like, in a good way?
It's actually, it's like a...
the way you guys just like react to reminds me of that one girl that's just like,
You know what?
I fucking love that. Like, I feel like I'm literally listening to you guys do that right now. You're just like,
I can't figure out if I like
it's
it.
malt. Well,
I'm gonna have to chug 6 of them to figure out if I like it or not. But
I got a really big can.
it's actually pretty, like, drinking a beer at 8 a.m. is never a great idea, except for when it is. But this one's not terrible. It doesn't have that ricey flavor that I had in the Sapporo. It's a little thicker, like you're saying, a little maltier. But it still has a little bit of like a wet cereal taste. So I think I can taste like the hops more so in this. So it's basically like I'm having cereal for breakfast. You know?
yeah, you're just having breakfast, man. You're just having some breakfast on that's wholesome. That's some wholesome Sunday morning
Kirin
content for you guys.
Ichiban. Have it with a katana and breakfast.
Samurai sword.
Man, I can't wait for the marketing dollars to flow in from this.
Jeez.
Get drunk with the sword on your back.
Translate the email.
Take on the day. All right, so that's our beverage breakdown there. So let's go into story time with JR. Volume 2, JR, what goes on?
Volume 2. This is the I guess after the big kaboom at
I guess should we have a recap of Volume 1 just real quick?
Just a real quick. At the end of Volume 1, everything was going peacefully, and then all of a sudden some violence happened. Dent's past came back to haunt him by his the way he, killed people in the for revenge, and everybody was his bully. They finally caught up to him and kind of started a little fight between him and this guy named Mash, and but basically everything got turned around on him and Debbie, and he went and linked up to the world again by stabbing himself with some drugs, and was taking over.
Himself with some drugs.
Shooting himself up.
Shooting himself up with some nanotech, and Davy Chama pretty much took him over, and they went and actually did what they were supposed to go do, which destroy Tokyo and blow the place up so they can have the natural resources that was applied in that area. And that's how number 1 end with Debbie. We're thinking Debbie died, but she took the other serum, which made her the ghost, I guess, or the another superhero. I don't know if there was a name for her before, but now she's the Tokyo Ghost, and gives her that EMP power.
She's basically Kazumi.
Yeah, Kazumi. And so now she's...
You know what she reminds me of is fucking Yoshimitsu from Tekken, when she was going through with that sword and just like, oh, fa, fa, fa. Yeah, dude, when she was going through Tokyo, or not Tokyo, but going through fucking LA, and just murking cats with that sword, and it's like kind of glowing,
Oh, yeah, where she comes back.
I feel like Kazumi's way more Yoshimitsu, bro. But
did Kazumi fight?
But Kazumi had just a regular fucking katana, and she barely used it. But Debbie had like a glowing fucking katana with murking cats.
But Yoshimitsu is like very classic samurai Japanese like character design.
I guess I just remember the glowing sword.
All right, word.
But fuck me, Zach.
Sorry,
fuck
me.
me.
Sorry. Let's keep going. Doesn't matter.
Jeez.
All right,
don't
ladies and gentlemen.
You probably used fucking that Panther dude, didn't you? Or that fucking leopard dude in Tekken.
Dude, of course I did.
You were fucking king for sure.
Of course I was.
I could.
Who's not king? He's easily the dopest.
Are you okay? Let's go on. Let's move on.
All right, go ahead, JR. Go ahead.
Oh my god. So anyways, this one starts back with Dent thinking that Debbie has perished, and in fact he got his mind wiped because of the big EMP blast, and he doesn't remember anything other than he's having some bad memories, and he's back in LA with Davy Trauma and Mr. Flack taking over the world and violence, and this starts with two characters out in the beginning, Miss Muffet and Mr. Horner, or the guy that looks like a pie.
Yeah, Jack Horner. Yeah,
Jack Horner, and basically they're trying to be some terrorists, and that comes through there and destroys them, and he's gone, right? Den is like not who he was at all. He's like this machine. In fact, I think they call him a zombie or something, right? In the book, some kind of zombie.
Because he's got the fucking TVs in front of him and he just kills people. And
yeah, he just kills. He just keeps
does
going.
Whatever Davey tells him to.
Yep, and basically it's a different world. They're Mr. Flack and Davey are going back to they're moving over to Tokyo, so they're getting ready for all that kind of stuff and getting this big old ship going. And it's kind of a gross little beginning, right? I mean, there's some really like nasty stuff in the beginning. There's
about when the pie gets a hand job from his girl.
That's nasty. And then when they finally zoom into Mr. Flack and
the reporter.
Davey and the reporter.
Oh yeah, the reporter goes down on him.
And then Davey stops him.
So sweet.
Yeah, and all I can remember is Mr. Flack's like, you shouldn't have stopped him. Like
yeah, he was trying to say thank you. Like,
well, he has to send him back in to finish the job.
What a like comic book way to display like disgusting power.
That's what I was saying, like ultimate power.
There's this journalistic arm that's like reporting on this leader of a society, and then like the journalistic arm is just saying like, you're so great, you're so amazing, oh my god, da 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 da, and it's like projecting that message to the rest of the people, and then as soon as the cameras turn off, that journalistic arm like sucks the guy off who's like in power. And I just feel like it's kind of vile, but also it's like it's layered. I think like there's a layered message to that, and I just feel like that was like a cool. And what happens is like it happens in like 3 panels too.
Yeah,
I feel like it's like a lot of messaging, and it's just like boom, 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 and you're just like whoa, and it kind of you kind of have to like sit with it for a second and then you move on. But I feel like there's a lot of like packed panels with, and sometimes it's not even the writing that pushes that layer forward. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's the art in that one that does it. So I just feel like that was like a cool thing.
That's a good point, because in that section, I mean, one of the things that like grossed me out was like the slobbering coming off. You know what I mean? It was like all over. It was disgusting, and it just kind of shows you like
it's like a Pavlov experiment.
Yeah, and just the fact that you guys ever watched that movie Caligula? You know, with Malcolm McDowell. It's like one of the most famous like on mainstream like sex, like they actually have sex on this movie and they show it, and it's like this like big orgy scene, and what they're doing is Caligula is showing like, I could do whatever I want, I am in charge, I can have sex with this person, I can have sex with a guy, I can have sex with a girl, I can have sex with a goat, whatever. My sister, it's a really gross movie. Caligula is a really bad story, but it's
I
like
own it on Blu-ray, but it's terrible. You know.
Yeah, it's like, but it's like display of power is like so immense. It's like, yeah, I'm just sitting here with my pants down. I know I'm gonna get it sucked eventually by somebody, and it's like it happens. And the fact that he got all angry about it when Davey pulled him off, and I think we should say that the fact that when Flack took over, Davey turned into this like, you know, emasculate, you know, he's like lost all of his juice basically. He's like this little drone of, yes sir, I'm sorry sir, you know, instead of this violent crazy
Flack
individual.
has that like ultimate button though.
It's like an EMP button, right? He's got like a little chip in his brain that he can just fry himself. Yeah. Yep.
Do you think that when Murphy came on board, he knew how many dicks he was going to have to draw in this storyline?
I doubt it.
He drew a shit ton of dicks in this book.
It's really, I don't know. It's maybe I need to grow up a little bit.
But it's only 2 dicks, you guys. Come on.
It's a lot of dick, all right?
Repetitive.
Two is enough.
2 dicks. There's 4 dicks right here in this conversation.
Yeah, it's a
I think
big,
you can handle 2 animated penises.
But we're showing our... I'm not offended, Vinny.
All I can say is when I went to art school, there was one thing I wouldn't draw, and if you look at all my old drawings from art school, the men's area down there is all not drawn, and I used to get criticized. Like the guy would come around, he's like, "You didn't finish it." I'm like, "No, it's finished. I ain't going."
Why, dude? Why? Pure.
I'm not drawing that. I'm not taking an hour looking at your dick and trying to draw it in detail. I'm sorry. I just.
It's like get a pencil and like push to the side with the. Eraser,
he looked like a Ken Barbie doll. That's all he looked like down there was just. I just was not interested.
I have like so many questions and I want to dig in deeper,
Dude,
but I just feel like maybe we shouldn't. Like, let's just move
we should
past
just
this.
move on.
I think we should go back set up camp here. I think we just change. Just go off. Off path.
Well, yeah,
New episode topic.
Screw Tokyo Ghost.
Off the air, I think we need to talk about that, though, because I do have questions.
No,
let's lay JR down on the couch.
Everybody thinks
Let's
Tokyo Ghost Volume 2 is going to be about dicks now. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
It's not about dicks. There's just a lot of dicks in the whole.
It's a Japanese porn comic book that we just got into. So, anyways, we'll move on. The next scene kind of goes into where they're starting to move. Mr. Flack is starting to move his organization to Tokyo, where they built this like casino-looking, town. It's just straight out, for the higher class, and he has he's got this like idea of who he wants going, and I'll get into that with a much better scene. But in between here, there's kind of this dark figure coming through with a glowing sword, as Jordan says from Tekken, and with glowing hands, and starts murking all these guys that are helping move. And Dent just kind of stands there, not knowing what's going on, and realizing all of a sudden there's like a danger, and they kind of go at it. And I thought this was a really good scene here, because it goes from a bright pink to a black page where it says, "The ghost of Tokyo has come for you all." And
so dope.
And I thought that was pretty awesome.
And it takes like into the second volume to realize what the title means.
Yes, exactly, because I didn't know what Tokyo Ghost was. I thought Tokyo Ghost was meaning like, okay, the past is gone, right? Like we're into this new world of technology, violence, addiction, and
like the ghost of Tokyo.
Exactly.
Like Tokyo itself, like the city has become ghosted.
No, I thought it was kind of a metaphor. I thought Tokyo Ghost was this metaphor for like, no more, we can't go hiking anymore. Like as a whole, like there's no more nature. There's no more, being able to swim in a river. Like I thought the idea of Tokyo was gone from everything. That's what I thought. I didn't realize that it was actually a character, which came out in Tokyo, the volume 2. So, and
I think that works too. Still, I mean, like the Tokyo.
Yeah, I guess it does
have a double meaning.
We're in the ghost.
Yeah,
we're living with the ghost of
knowing
the world.
Knowing Rick Remender, I feel like it probably
has
does.
12 meanings. Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was kind of my thought, and we go into the next section here where Dent is kind of on his own, and he's sitting in front of a katana, and he's kind of just he's like zoned out. But all of a sudden, he started having flashbacks, and they're I'll kind of read this really quickly. I thought this was a great little section. It says, "Once upon a time, there was a boy named Teddy Dennis who grew up to become a cunt," is what it says. Shocked by the EMP, Teddy has been offline for 46 hours, 33 minutes, and 5 seconds. He's counting. The months ago, all of his hopes disappeared in a mushroom cloud. Teddy was jacked in, and so he never knew. But the memories are coming back now, and they hurt. And he goes, "Debbie." And he grabs for the katana at the same time. He goes, "The only person who ever cared about him, the most beautiful face he'd ever seen, he couldn't remember why she left. Maybe he didn't want to." And I thought that was a really great, like, understanding of where Dent was and what he had kind of become. This kind of just getting to the next day and kind of zoning himself out. And he has these flashbacks, and it kind of reminded me a little bit of T2, Terminator 2, where Sarah Connor...
Like T2? What the fuck?
Sorry.
Good. I love it.
It's for us gearheads over here, bro.
My bad.
Come on, bro.
True Terminator fans, bro.
Come on, bro.
Gearheads. I have a Skynet tattoo.
But anyway, so he has this flashback about Debbie and how much he loved her, and he sees her, and I feel like they drew her a lot more like prettier in this. Like her appearance, her face was a much more detailed in the way her eyes and her lips looked, and it was kind of a great scene. And there's a part of it where, like, they show his apartment, it's all jacked up, and it's kind of a weird thing. So it was kind of a weird, gross, distinguished, between what was there and what is reality, right? He's got like a blow up doll on his sofa with pizza.
Oh yeah, and the bottles of like liquor on the table and syringes and all that
and
shit
they kind
everywhere.
of and then and throughout this they're talking about how weak he was. He was too weak to protect what he had, and he let the destruction occur.
He really is, and it's like the whole story is like, it's a great story, but it's so focused around, like, if he was just not such a pussy and didn't dwell on getting his ass kicked in high school, like like nothing of this would fucking happen. I mean, a lot of it would have happened, but the whole fucking Dent Debbie thing, like,
and it's true.
I think that that's like such an, I mean, I think that that is a good way to look at like addiction overall, and like an accurate way to depict like an addict in a really crazy zany world. First of all, I think that his apartment, like showing his apartment, that's what an addict's apartment looks like. Like, you just give up. Like, there's fucking shit everywhere. There's garbage. Like, you just don't care. There's blow-up dolls, pizza and shit. Like, you just... Because, like, the whole thing is you're trying to escape. And I think that trying to escape... I mean, I don't want to say that it's a weakness, because that's, like, kind of too harsh. But, I mean, it's based out of fear. Like, you're afraid of, like, what's in front of you, and so you just want to, like, zone the fuck out. You want to go somewhere else. Somewhere where you feel safer. And I feel like he is a fearful dude. Like, he got beat up. He realized he couldn't protect the woman he loved, and he got scared. And so, out of fear, he, like, started cranking up his nanotech, and then he became a big man. But even during that time, he was still zoned out because he was scared. Right. Like, he's a fearful guy. And I think that is addicts. That is a trait that I think that some addicts have. And so I think that it's cool to show that in this story. Like, this is a crazy world, it's a crazy sci-fi world, but Led's addiction to nanotech feels very real to me.
And that's very true, and it's just funny how he tries to be strong by injecting himself with drugs, but in doing that, he's actually showing how weak he really is, and like he makes himself.
And even in going back to it too, like I mean, we touched on this in the last episode. Like, we were like, well, when he was like mortally wounded, we were like, well, he could have died like a warrior. Like, he could have gone out like a champion. He could have like saved her right there. Like, he had that opportunity, but instead, what does he do? He crawls back to the ship and he injects that nanotech. Why? Because he's weak. He's scared. There's never been a time when he's been a badass. Like, yeah, he looks like it and he does badass shit, but he is a small, scared little boy.
That's the nanotech too.
That's exactly. That's just him during his addiction. And so, you know, it only makes sense that like would continue on into volume 2, you know,
right?
Arguably until the end.
Yeah.
That's true. And one of the things that I thought Remender did a really good job was, because when I first grabbed this book, was the cover is like, it's just Led Dent. It's this big, massive dude on a motorcycle, right? So you're thinking that this is going to be like a normal, you know, maybe not too normal, but a superhero, almost like a crime detective. And then throughout the story, you start to realize what Dent is. So I feel like Remender like pulled you in by like the normal standards, like, hey, this is what normal of individuals are used to reading, super powered guys who could kick ass with no weaknesses, and then all of a sudden you're getting pulled into this world. And I felt like that's why he's one of the greatest writers I feel out there right now with the writing. It's because he just pulls you in with his world of like, you know, trickery a little bit. He's like, I tricked you, you bitches, you know, now you get to read my real story, which is, you know, addiction and how people rely on garbage to feel good about themselves. And, you know, Debbie is this, you know, she's not even on the first cover, you know, she's not even on the front, you know, and she becomes the strongest character throughout the whole story. So, that's a great point.
One thing I want to say about that, JR, is you're talking about the cover of the first novel, which is actually the cover of the fourth or fifth issue.
Right.
So the first issue has both of them on it. So like,
but who's the bigger character? Isn't he like the bigger character standing up? I'm looking through all the covers, and all these covers have him as the bigger character.
Point. He's the focal point of the story, but I don't think it's just a story of addiction. I think it's a love story. That's what it truly is.
Yeah, well, and maybe we'll get into that at the end, because I think we decided what kind of story this is. We kind of had this quick debate about with Watchmen was like, who's the main character. Let's see what this story is about. you know. So I'll go to the next scene. The next scene is where they're actually moving into the ship. So Flack had built this big, massive cruise ship with a big lion on it, and they're going over to Tokyo. He's like, "Oh, new world." He goes, "I'm gonna have the highest class of the class. The most highest IQ individuals are gonna be coming to this new world. None of this junk that lives here in LA, you know, and none of this garbage." And he built this machine to kind of deterred away people who were not the lower class, and it was kind of this IQ machine. And he walks through it, and it's like 88, and he's like,
he fails it.
He fails it, and he's like, "Oh, you guys are funny guys, you guys, ha ha ha," you know. And
dude, that was such a dope machine. Can you imagine if they had that? I
know.
It'd be fucking.
Mine would be like 67, like
167.
Sorry,
You're the brains, bro.
Thank you.
I'm hoping that machine never existed. Like,
I don't want to walk through that machine.
Exists.
Vinny's definitely hoping.
But yeah, and then
My
Mr.
ego
Flack
would just
goes,
go
"But you know," and he goes, "Hey guys, we thought you get a kick out of that, and good. I like to have fun." And then he turns on him and he goes, "But I really like it to run a tight ship." And he has Dent to cut them in slices and dices, right? And moves on even. So it kind of tells you where Flack is going. You actually start to see the weakness of him. You start to see like he's starting to feel he's not that all powerful. He's actually a weak, pervert old man. You know what I mean? Instead of this all-knowing kind of guy. You start to see that in this page. And then you start to, it's this big party going on the ship. Everybody's excited. Really weird stuff, weird games, a lot of sexual things going on. Dent, and all the while, he's talking to Dent, and he's like, "This is what I'm going to offer you. This is Davey, you know, we're going to do this, and we're going to do that." And all this whole time, Davey is just kind of like laying in the background, just kind of, and at this point, I'm thinking, what's Davey up to? Because he went from this superpower villain to this guy who just kind of hangs out and does what Flack does. So you're kind of getting that feeling of something's going to happen, but you're not sure what. You know, what's this guy going to do? What kind of betrayal is going to happen? And you don't know where it's going to come from. And so, anyways, they're kind of teasing Dent a little bit about because they're starting to realize his memories are coming back, and they start to show him what he did in Tokyo and the destruction that he caused, and kind of making him feel bad about that.
But they're like twisting it on him and making it
worse.
It was like Debbie like tried to kill him, and he's to fucking like go not have any feelings, and he's actually like fighting his addiction at this point without even like realizing it. He's like Teddy's coming through,
right?
Like fighting through the woodwork,
right? Exactly. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, there's this like change in. This is a turning point in the comic book NFL films. And this is all of a sudden the lights go out, and you know where everybody's like, "What the fuck?" Right? Like, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, here enters Tokyo Ghost, aka Debbie,
aka Yoshimitsu,
and her inappropriate outfit that Jordan does not approve of, that he mentioned.
It just seems like very like inconvenient for a warrior to wear, but you know.
I don't know. A warrior doesn't need to wear any clothes, really.
Yeah,
it's all about speed and flexibility.
Yeah, true samurais don't wear like armor. That like all that armor you typically see for like samurai style. That's all ceremonial shit.
I'm not saying wear armor. I'm saying not just have your titties hanging out.
First of all, her titties ain't hanging out. She don't have.
Bro,
like,
she's a rogue, Jordan.
Like, yeah,
she's got to be.
She's
quick
like fit. She's not like voluptuous and like.
It's a 2-piece samurai outfit. It is like a bikini, basically.
I don't know. She's more ninja than samurai.
It's a Rick Remender style. Is all I'm saying. Because in
should
Low,
read volume 2 of Low.
In Low, the girls, everybody's Princess Leia gold bikini. It's like the whole. Fucking
I like it.
I love it.
The thing is I bet you if the main hero was like a ripped ass dude and he wasn't wearing a shirt,
don't have to finish.
And he was wearing like shorts, Jordan would be like, "Bro, this dude's sick, bro."
It just makes sense.
He's so badass.
Just adds up.
Oh,
He doesn't need any armor.
He's almost as good as Ryan Gosling. Yeah.
Ryan Seacrest.
He was gonna say Ryan Seacrest.
I was.
I mean, more of a Joel McHale guy, but whatever.
All right.
All right, JR. Let's get us back on the rails.
So at this point, Tokyo Ghost ensues panic in Mr. Flack, and he's starting to kind of go off the deep end here. And he's talking about her, and he goes, "Fuck, Led, she's on my ship. Give me my pistol, you incompetent fool." And he's really scared about Tokyo Ghost. He's really scared of, and I think he realized what he actually did, and the repercussions, I think, is starting to happen. And he's realizing that he's just a weak, normal guy with his pants down. Like, he's got no superpowers. He's not even a genius. He's just
low
this
IQ,
old, guy who just kind of makes everybody think he's this god, right? I mean, he went from people drinking out of the pool that he was taking a bath in to sucking his dick to all of a sudden he's this scared guy with a white t-shirt and no underwear on. And it's like, dude, go home and put some underwear on.
He's Donald Duck with a pistol.
Exactly. And he's like going after Davy Trauma here, and because Davy's like, "No, we got it," and he's like, "No, you fucking don't get it. You know, this is not good for me, right?" And then he makes him realize that, you know, he does have the button. "I control you, Davy." Blah blah blah. You know, blah blah blah. I'll kill you. And anyway, so they sent Dent after her, and he's not realizing what he's doing, and there's kind of a really cool scene here. It's like you can kind of see that the corruption going on here from Davy, because Flack goes to look for his gun, and it's missing, right? So he's like something, right? And all of a sudden Tokyo
And you
goes,
immediately know that
Right.
it's Davy, because he's chaotic as fuck. Yeah.
Yep.
He's just like getting murked by this guy, and like is obviously way more intelligent. Like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
it's being run by this guy who's not even close to his level of deviancy. Like, he has no like understanding of what Davy's capable of, and all of a sudden Tokyo Ghost shows up in his office, and I think it's a great scene because she kind of has a little bit of a monologue, right? I mean, she kind of talks a little bit about, you know, things that happened, and he goes, and I think she scares him so much he shits in his chair, right? I mean, he takes a crap. And she goes, "You'll shit more than just your chair." I mean, she's going after him. You shit the world. All you ever cared about was winning, and you did. The last man standing of a mountain of filth. And that's exactly who he was, right? And she stabs him in the shoulder, and then she kind of goes after him and says, "You know, I know what you've done." And my name is Debbie, and she chops his head off. And
Dun dun dun.
dun 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 dun, and
Murked.
enters Davy Trauma. And I think this is a really good scene. This is another turning point in the book, because this is where she did not realize that Davy was being controlled by like a chip and by a button that Mr. Flack had. So all the craziness that was ensuing was being held back, and as soon as Mr. Flack died, got that chip, that power went away, and Davy's like, he goes, "I knew you did it. I knew you would do it. He was the firewall holding me back." And he's like, this lightning of power just comes to him, and he just goes after her. And he goes, and I love how he talk. I love how he, like, what he calls her. He's like, he calls her sister, you know, kind of like, "What's up, sister?" And he goes, "Oh, sister, and the plans I have." Cut scene. And that's the end of
That confused me. Because, like, throughout that volume, I was just like, wait, are they related? Or is he just saying that? Like, I didn't know.
So
That
that goes back to some panels before that when they were looking through Dent's memories, and they kept seeing memories of Kasumi. So when they saw photos of the Tokyo Ghost, they thought it was Kasumi before they thought it was Debbie. Remember? Mm-hmm. So when Davy realized Debbie was, you know, Kasumi in a way, or the Tokyo Ghost,
right,
he realized she had the power, and Davy and Kasumi were part of the same project that made him powerful like that. So it was more of just like oh, hey, you got the power now too, sister.
Oh, now you're my sister.
It was more of a sense like that.
Okay.
It was kind of a weird thing, but I think it went with Davey because he just said the most ridiculous shit. Like people were getting
Yeah.
splattered on the wall, and he'd be like, "Shit's on fleek," and
Yeah.
like you know what I mean? Like yeah. So
He's a fucking
he's
lunatic.
dude. He is one of the craziest characters I've ever seen or read.
He's a cool villain.
Like, dude.
Yeah,
It's a
super
great
cool.
ass villain.
Great villain. And so let's jump ahead a little bit because what's his overarching plan, JR? He kind of figures it out as he goes, but he has
So one of the biggest things that he wanted to do was take everybody to the virtual world, no more bodies, and he kind of where everything could be perfect, anything can be manipulated to what you want, and it kind of reminded me of I can't remember this movie, but where everybody was basically on the same plane. There was no class, there was no distinction between race. There was only this: you are a code, you know, and
Matrix?
he wanted it. Yeah, was it Matrix? I don't know.
They're batteries. They're batteries in the Matrix.
Yeah.
But sure.
yeah.
Sure.
The Island's a great movie.
Yeah. But
I'm thinking of
anyways,
The Beach. Never mind.
the beach with Leonardo
Yeah.
DiCaprio and the okay.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So anyways, he wants everybody to be on this level playing because I think he didn't, maybe there was something about Davy Trauma that we didn't realize or maybe we didn't think about, was maybe he wasn't, you know, he was this low end individual who came into power, and we've seen that before, right? Where you're this guy who came to power the wrong way, and you want everybody to feel what you felt, you know, when you were weak, and the power, you know, the distinguish of living low class, and he wanted everybody to be on the same plane. So he was gonna, and since everybody is connected already, it was already easier. He was gonna put on this cerebral helmet and connect everybody, and push them into the virtual plane. And that was his master plan. He was gonna
through mass suicide.
mass suicide. He was gonna
He
kill
was gonna
everybody.
have every single person on the world kill themselves at the same time, and at that same time upload their consciousness into the
Right.
cloud.
Yep.
Which is just super dark and like current, and
Yeah,
I thought
it's
it was
like-
great.
We're all
Yeah.
gonna be.
But,
TV
like,
screens.
I
What
feel
if the
like
cloud
what-
is like full? You know, how much storage does that thing got?
cloud.
My
Dude,
phone
the
cloud is
the-
fucking full.
The cloud never runs out of storage. That's just because you're not paying them enough money. You need
Yeah.
a bigger storage plan.
Yeah,
But one thing about Davey, and I think that we've touched on this a ton of times before when we've talked about villains, is like how the best villains offer like solutions and plans that aren't 100% evil. I mean, yeah, this is super evil, but like there was times when he was like, think about it. Nobody will have to eat any more natural resources, which is something that we're currently running out of. Nobody will feel sadness because they can just upload happiness if they want to. No more suffering, no more hunger, no more the world ends. And if the world does end, we still continue on. And so, like, the mass suicide is super dark. The against the people's will is super dark. But then to counteract that, he has points where it's just like,
Makes you think.
well, yeah, it makes you think. Like, it's kind of like the Thanos effect where you're just like,
Here's the
and I feel
quote
like
from that
that's
panel
like
that
the
you're
best
talking
villain.
about, Zach.
You know what I mean?
Because that's when he's like doing the go karts with like Mao, Genghis Khan, Hitler, Osama bin Laden, and he's like going through
Yeah.
doing all the crazy go karting stuff, and he's talking about his feelings, and they're kind of like, "Nah, man, that's too crazy." But then he'll say, I'll be both executioner and savior to all of mankind." And it's just like, that's kind of sums up what you're trying to say. It's just like,
Yeah.
nah, like the world is shit, so he's putting everybody consciously into a better place, but physically no one would exist.
Yep.
So so is that? I don't know.
It's some
yeah.
Star Trek shit, dude. It's like the
Yeah,
it's like the
Star
opposite
Trek.
of the board.
Yeah.
Like,
It is a weird concept, and I think we should. Well, maybe we'll get to we'll just jump to the end, because I think that's a great like I love seeing that side, and then but I think I always gravitate towards like a different side when I see that stuff. Like I understand what he's doing, but then it makes me think of what I really want, and that is not what I want. You know what I mean? Because that is like that is like. If someone were to ask me if I wanted to be a part of that, I'd be like, well, what about my individuality? You know what I mean? What about my right to be upset about, like, I'll give you a story. Last night I was painting and I just junked this painting last night. Like I was so pissed about it. It took a lot of work and it didn't come out at all. So I grabbed that painting and I just smashed the shit out of it and I got rid of it. And you know what?
Rage, bro.
And you know what? I'm happy because I have the right to do that. It's my art. It's my creation. It's my, individuality. And that I wasn't happy at it and I didn't want to look at it anymore. And it was more about
Amber's like in the other room watching The Bachelor, and all of a sudden she just hears like, just smashing shit like in the art room, and it's just like, oh, it's just JR painting. Don't worry.
And then
about
when
it.
the crash is over, it's like a slow, quiet weeping, like just.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I embrace that more than anything. I think that's a great for me to have because to have passion in that is something that if you conform to something that like Thanos or Davy Chama, it's boring. That's boring, you know.
I think you can't be
assimilated
bored. Just upload
resistance is
entertainment.
futile.
I'll be bored.
I don't think you can be bored when you're.
I
You'd
think
be
that-
bored?
I think
Hold
that
on, is that what you just said?
I don't. That's the whole point. Is you
Oh.
can't be bored.
I think the most vile part of the plan is the disregard of free will,
Right.
Like what other people want. That's and of course the mass suicide, like everybody dies. But like I think that doing something to somebody against their will is where that like seed of evil lies.
Right.
Because I think that like there's also a lot of, I mean, and I don't know if it's necessarily good, but I think that in his mind he's thinking this is gonna save everybody. Like, yeah, trust me. You're not gonna want this now, but like it'll save everybody later. Just trust me on this.
He didn't care about saving people. I think he just wanted to be the king. Like he wanted everybody. He wanted to be fucking the emperor.
That's his like underneath. Like he was saying all this bullshit, and then all of a sudden at the bottom of the cake is his actual like, hey, this is what I really want. I want to be the boss. A boss.
Bro. More times than not, the savior is always the tyrant, and the tyrant is always like desiring to be the king.
Say that to Russell Wilson's face, bro.
Look at
He's
Julius.
our savior.
Look throughout history, though. Look at Julius Caesar.
No, of
Look
course.
at Adolf Hitler. Like these are people that came in as the savior of their people, like the one that liberates everybody. And then these are it's those three things go hand in hand.
I'm just saying you can't
Savior, tyrant,
glorify his
king.
plan because it's not like heartfelt. It's fucking selfish.
Exactly. Yeah.
His whole scheme. And then Deb is like, fuck this, and obviously tries to fight back. But throughout the process, Dent fights his like fucking mind melt and actually comes to, right? Becomes Teddy.
He does.
And that was pretty cool to see because like she was convinced that, well, she wasn't really convinced, but she was just hopeful that love would prevail, and she was basically giving herself up to let Dent kill her or come back. And he like got the sword right to her face and then like stopped, which is, who knows if that really would happen. But love prevailed, man. And then what happened to our boy?
Well, at this point, this is where Dent dies, right? Because didn't he kill him? And he turned it.
Yeah, that's what happened.
And then he dances with him on the floor.
That was super dark. Yeah, I saved that
Yeah.
image. He fucking makes him kill himself with the samurai with the sword. Like he just possesses his mind and cuts his own throat, and then shows Davey dancing around with his dead ass body with blood just trailing behind. Like super
and
fucking
exactly, and
Clockwork
that
Orange.
really like throws Debbie into like a little bit of a turmoil. But I mean, I do love her character. She trudges on. I mean, it's like when we do this episode and we can't get through we're like trudge on, you know, trying to get to the next scene.
Just get through
And-
the weeds.
Just get
Yeah.
through the fucking thing. And I feel like and we're gonna jump to the next scene. I mean, he's taunting her now. Like he is like saying, you can't beat me. I've got your boyfriend hanging up, you know, strapped to wires, dead body. You know, I've put his conscience in this scene, and I mean, he's really trying to seduce her to his side. I mean, he's got.
And he does.
He does.
I
He
mean-
does turn her for a little bit, right? She goes and she gets tricked.
He wins. Yeah, he knew he would win. He's like, just say the magic words. That's all I need.
And that's
she
where
was like,
who
he's
comes in
right.
there?
One thing about that scene, so Davey is getting ready to put the helmet on, and he's getting ready to have everybody kill themselves and upload them to the cloud. And Debbie's in the room with him, but Debbie's not fighting him, and Davey's not fighting her, but they're more just having this argument, and Davey like won't move forward until she admits that he's right. Like
Yeah.
he needs it. He like won't do anything until Debbie admits that you have a point and like just upload me to the cloud. And the way he does it is when he kills Led, he uploads him to the cloud.
Right.
And so he basically uses Led as like, don't you want to be with him? Like, why don't you want to just like live with him forever in happiness? Look, he's not addicted to technology anymore. He's not Dent anymore. He's the man you love. Like he's sitting right there. He's a perfect version. Like what's wrong with this? Say the word, and I can send you to him right now. And like he's like Led's like putting his hand on the screen, and like it's just like she puts her hand on the screen too, and it's like a powerful ass scene. But I think what's interesting is that there's no fighting going on.
There isn't.
None. Like
no physical fighting, but there's internal battles like galore.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to bring up too. Is like, and Dent's telling her not to do it. He's like, "Don't do it. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Don't do it." And she still kind of does it, and she still kind of gives into that. That
she doesn't want to go on without Teddy.
Yeah.
So ultimately, Teddy, essentially, she just gives up and she says, "All right, Davey, fuck it. You're right. Like, just send me to the cloud. I want to be with Led."
Yeah.
Yep. And then who comes through to save the day?
What's his
Kazumi's son?
What's his name, Jordan?
Yeah.
What's his name, Jordan?
I wrote it down. Takara.
Katara.
Oh, I wrote it down wrong.
Katara and his pet cat.
Yeah, and his pet cat.
Red panda.
Red panda. Come on.
The red panda.
It's a red panda.
Bro, that's for sure a cat.
The red panda saves fucking lives.
A cat. It's like one of China's most or Japan's most exotic freaking animals.
Yeah.
Red panda.
The red spotted cat, dog.
No, the red spotted panda. It's like one of the cutest things on earth.
What's the cat from the Alice in Wonderland? The Chester cat.
Oh, Cheshire cat.
Yeah. But yeah, so Deb's basically giving up. She's like, "You're right. Like, I want to be with Teddy." And then Katara comes in and fucking kicks Davy's fucking head and knocks the helmet off.
Right.
And then kind of brings her back because he gives her the helmet. It's like, you need to
brings her back to reality.
Down. Yeah, you need to shut all this down. And then Davy
keep your promise to my mom.
Keep your promise to my mom. Yeah, it's the promise that she made when she took the power. And then he gets fucking a bullet through his chest as he's handing off this helmet. And this is something that, like, this is Rick Remender. And one thing I loved Lo, don't get me wrong, but one thing I was kind of annoyed by is like, yes, she was so hopeful, but everything went right. Like, everything fucking happened like the way that she was thinking it would. Like, it was dark. The world, don't give me that face, Zach. The world wasn't great, but like, she knew that if she fell, she wouldn't die, and she didn't. Like, she would basically just throw herself in these situations, and then she'd be okay. And I guess
I disagree, but
your boy got
I just
rocked.
want to move on.
And
all right, I'm gonna.
But everybody gets fucking killed.
No, you can finish your point. I'm just saying, let's talk about that at a different time about Lo, but finish your point.
Shit didn't go the way, and she gave up. Like, in Hope she never. In Lo, she never gave up. In this, she gave up.
Yeah, you got to keep reading Lo, though. There's a lot more to the Hope theory in Lo, and it keeps getting deeper and deeper, which we'll get to when we get to those, because we'll break it up right per volume probably, right? So that should be
all right. Well, anyway, so gets the helmet, puts it on.
Well, let me set that scene up, because I think that's a really important scene. After actually it was Takara that got Debbie the helmet. He's like, do what you're supposed to do, right? He gets shot in the back by Davy Trauma, and at this point, she's upset, and everybody's telling her put the helmet on. Dent's telling her put the helmet on, and he goes, I love what Davy he says, "You're not gonna fuck this up for me, right?" And Dent is telling her, put it on, do it. And she goes, Teddy, if I do. I think it's a really great scene in this really great panel. It's his big face on a TV screen, and she's putting her body up against it, and she's realizing what she's saying goodbye to at this point, right? She's like, I'm saying goodbye to him, and he's saying, you spent your life carrying me. You're always my conscience. Now let me be yours. Save the world. Let me go. And I thought that was a really deep scene there, because he realized now that his body's gone and he didn't need the technology, he realized what she was to him, and she was the greater person, and he was background, really. And I'm gonna read this argument between her and David Trauma. There's only two bubbles here, but she goes, "I love you, Teddy." And Davy says, "If you do this, he'll die. He'll be gone forever." And she goes, "So will you." The greatest challenge of any of us face is change. And I thought that was really awesome there. The world would never willingly unplug itself, never choose to face the mess around us. And this is where she puts on the helmet, and this bright pink light comes out, and she's basically EMPing. She superpowered her superpower like Cerebro does, like Professor Xavier does with his telepath, and zaps the shit out of everybody. So she goes, "I'll choose
with an EMP."
With an EMP,
which
blast.
shuts down the cloud, which shuts down lead.
Which everybody knows what EMP is, right? It's just a big electrical, blast.
Electromagnetic pulse.
Yes. So she goes, "I'll choose for them. Teddy was my only family, the one person I had in the world. All I ever wanted was for him to unplug, to get clean." And as she's saying this, Davy's like falling apart. I mean, you could see how much of a machine he was. He was barely even human. Like, he had there was pieces and bits there, and some blood, but not really. Because I knew once he did, I'd be happy. But you can't let your hope for your joy rest on the shoulders of someone else. Some irony, the girl who couldn't face her own bullshit, suddenly facing everyone else too. Suddenly forcing everyone else to. And that's the end of the craziness of between Davy Trauma and Debbie. The technology versus our independence of what we want to do, right? That's kind of the
eco
end scene
first
there.
tech.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot. That's a lot that goes into that whole standoff. I mean, it's a lot of current debates. What are we doing? What we're doing, is it right? Did Davy have a point?
And then also one of the things I think about too is that, I mean, if we can agree that the most vile thing in Davy's plan was the kind of cast off of free will, doesn't Debbie do the exact same thing? Why don't we view that as vile as well?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, that brings up the end of the story, which it says 1 year later, right?
1 year later.
Everybody's living in this paradise of
this
green
utopia.
vegetation and stuff, and she leaves because she understands that she forced everybody into this and everybody needs help. So she has to leave Tokyo to help others around the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like the wealthy people are like carrying logs and shit, all pissed off.
Yeah,
like,
making them work.
Fucking work and shit. I've done this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She says, "I finally depend on myself," is what she says, and that was a great end. And it's kind of got like a little bit of like the end, very very end, kind of has a 1980s horror movie ending. You know what I mean? Where the
Into
kid
the
picks up the
sunset.
Game Boy. Yeah.
But then
the kid picks up the Game Boy.
Yeah.
And Davy's
press
like,
start to play.
yeah, you want to play, and his thumb is over the button, and that's the end of Tokyo Ghost Volume 2.
It's like the end ? And it's like blood dripping down.
So obviously, there's a lot to tackle. I know Z, you were pretty excited about Beneath the Ink in this storyline. What's settled with you? What was the most underlying theme?
So I thought that this was an interesting story. Obviously, I think that it addresses a lot about addiction, and obviously like tech versus like the modern world. But I think that and I'm gonna have I'm probably gonna have an unpopular take on this, but I think that the story is about the relationship between Debbie and Led, and I think that the real like crux of what we're talking about here is not actually Led's addiction, but Debbie's. Debbie is addicted to saving Led. That is her addiction. And it's actually, I looked it up, and it's called codependency. So
how many times did they use that word?
Yeah, that's what Davey calls her. Like,
yeah, listen to the definition. Codependency is a behavioral condition in a relationship where one person enables another person's addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, or underachievement. I think that on the surface you can be like, oh, well, you know, Debbie is being codependent to Led, like leading Led to like his addiction and so on and so forth. But that's not the case at all, actually. Led is shooting up Nano, and Debbie's trying to like get him off of that shit, right? But Led's behavior of being addicted to Nano and like doing all that shit is actually feeding her addiction of like this savior complex. Because ever since the beginning of their relationship, even when they were kids, he got beat up. Who saved him? Debbie. Debbie always saves Led all throughout time. And that's why at the very end, Davy understands this. And so Davy dangles the addiction in front of our main character, trying to get her to like basically break. And she does. She does. She says, I can't go on without you. I need to be with you, so on and so forth. And he's the one that says, no, like you need to save the world. And that's why at the end, Debbie says, you know, I've finally done it. I finally am standing on my own. Because I think the main addiction is her, but it's like hidden. And so I think that, you know, obviously they have a really unhealthy relationship, but I would argue that the most kind of the key addiction in the story is Debbie's addiction to playing Captain Save-A-Ho for Led's dumbass.
That's great.
Captain Save-A-Ho for
That's
Led's
awesome.
dumbass.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you, man. I mean, it's
me neither.
There's addiction all across the board here, but with, you know, our protagonist seemingly having this like healthy mindset and making the just decisions and doing the right thing, but in reality she's just as addicted as everyone else. It's just something that's a little more.
And I can also say too that I think that that's a pretty common thing for women growing up, especially teenage girls, because they always get shown these like movies and about like the bad boy. Like, oh, the bad boy goes to high school and nobody can tame him. But then he like meets
Walk to Remember.
Yeah, exactly. Like A Walk to Remember, Grease. You know what I mean? Like where they're just like, oh, but then he finds that good girl and then she like makes him a good guy. And I feel like these girls, and I know this, I have 5 sisters. I know this from growing up with women all my life. They watch these movies and then they're just like, oh, word. All right, yup, done. Registered that in the old noggin. And then when they go out to like high school and shit, they're looking for the bad boy. They're like, ooh, all right, this nice guy over here, fuck that dweeb. Oh, this dude that's getting good grades, freaking nerd. I want this guy over here who's like slanging weed on the corner. Yeah, let me get that guy. He's awesome.
Slanging weed on the corner.
Yeah.
They don't want to talk to the guy that's playing Yu-Gi-Oh in the fucking classroom with me.
No. But then they always but then it's always like, why? What's happening to me? Like it's not working. But it's not. It's really not their fault. It's like this conditional type of thing where like these films and this culture kind of says, yeah, you can, the bad boy's cool, you can save him, and guess what? Once you do, he's a really great guy. He'll protect you, but he's kind of got an edge. And I feel like that's like what this is. Like Debbie's like, ooh, Led's the bad boy. He's addicted to tech, but I don't do any tech. I'm trying to save him, and that's her addiction. It's an addiction that she just keeps recycling, and at the end, it almost breaks her. And if it wasn't for Katori or Katana, I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but Katara, then the whole world would have been freaking uploaded to the cloud. And honestly, I feel like I didn't like that part. I hate when like, and then she gets kicked in the head by this random character who we've never seen in a long time. Like, I just feel like that was kind of weak. But
I like that shit.
I think that that's the addiction. The addiction is like, ooh, I'm gonna save the bad boy. And
Led's not even a bad boy. He's a pussy though. And he's
it's
a drug
just
addict.
the whole savior mentality.
It's a savior
he's
complex.
Weak and needs to be lifted up. Yeah, it's not that he's a bad boy.
It's just knowing that fucking Teddy can pull chicks and I couldn't in high school. You know, it's just like,
bro, you didn't grow up with 5 sisters, so Zach would watch those same movies and be like, oh, yup. All right,
word.
Bad boy.
All right, leather jacket.
That's
check.
That's what I do. Okay.
Tattoos. All right, let me make this bad boy.
Check.
And then Zach's over here, like, you know, leaning up on the wall, smoking a cigarette, like, you know, flipping a coin or whatever it was. You know, that was cool back in the day.
From like West Side Story.
Playing jacks.
People are just like walking by me, and I'm like, wait.
Just dancing down the street.
Wait, it's not working. This is weird. I only have VHS tapes from the 60s, but I swear this should be
all right.
Oh, fuck. All right, so I think that's a great take, Zach, and I think that's very, very true. And for those of you out there that are thinking you need to be a tough guy to pull chicks, you're right, and just keep doing it.
Yeah.
No,
That's society.
don't do
Don't
that.
listen
my
to
word
any
for it.
advice Jordan gives you.
God.
Yeah.
Any, if you ever meet Jordan,
That's the moral. That's
yeah,
beneath the
he
ink
gives you
of this
advice, just don't
episode.
listen to it. Just agree, just to kind of move on with the conversation. But just like
Just to move forward.
don't listen to it.
Just acknowledge it and move on. Okay. Well, let's go around. We got craft or trash. Last week we got a 7.5 for volume 1. Where are we at in volume 2? JR, you want to start it?
Yeah, I'll start it. I'm gonna go with Craft. I mean, it's a great story, and I'm gonna stick with my 7. Did I give it a 7? I think I gave it a 7.
I don't remember. I mean,
Yeah.
you guys had read both the volumes. I only read
Yeah.
the first one.
I'm
we were
gonna
only
give it
ranking the first volume last time.
I'm gonna give it a 7. It's a great story, but there are some predictability. I am with Zach. I don't like that. To save the day, it's like this random person, kind of comes out of nowhere. Like Debbie put all this hard work into it, and at the end of the day, this guy kind of steals the show.
You know what should have happened is she should have just broke. That addiction should have broke her, and Davey should have uploaded everybody to the cloud.
But
like-
Should have been a
But
tragic
at that
ending.
part of the
That would've been
story, what you guys are saying is like, I feel like the writer is like, a good writer is like an illusionist. Like they like sleight of hand. Like look over here while I'm doing something over here. And then at the end of the magic trick, you're amazed at what this is. So the entire time we're thinking it's dense addiction through volume 1, and then towards the end of volume 2, you're starting to realize like, oh shit, no, this is all about Debbie. And then she finally breaks. And then when she finally breaks, she needs a savior, which happens to be the kid that she's supposed to keep her promise to.
I just,
God damn,
but
man,
I
there's-
think
how many
that-
saviors are there?
yeah.
I think that
Not enough,
the
because the world
surprise.
still sucks.
Not enough saviors out there.
I hear what you're saying, bro, but I also think that like oftentimes when you're reading fiction, it always works out, and very few writers are like. I think it's like honestly like an act of bravery to be like, oh no, like it all fucking fell apart, like everybody died. That's why I feel like George R. R. Martin is so great, because he's willing to just do shit like that. Like he's just like, I don't care about you and how you want things to end. Like shit happens and they all died. And I feel like, so I was actually waiting for it to work out somehow, even though it looked like she was about to break. And then when it did, I felt like that like illusion that you're talking about was like I was like looking at his left hand. No, it's in your left hand. Like I saw it. I would have been more surprised if he like had the courage, I would say, to just be like, yeah, like she broke, everybody died, like Davey won. Like to me, that would have been the biggest surprise. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
I feel like the appeal is like obviously even people that know it's coming. Sometimes I would say most of the time want the positive outcome just to feel better about the whole story. Even like I agree with you, Zach. I want that dark ending that was just different. But people want to feel good ultimately about these stories, and if that's the end,
and that's
the way
probably
it
why
ends.
it's like the more common trope.
Yeah, and I'm giving it a 7. Not just that, but there's just certain things. I mean, there's really good things that are like, you read, you're like, okay, that was good. But then there's like, okay things, and it's a great story. We've read really good ones, but I think a 7 is a really solid number for me on this. So
For sure. All right, Z.
I thought, like, when I first read it, I thought it was, like, incredible. But then, like, I kind of had to sit on it for a week because we did, like, 2 episodes. And I've cooled off on it a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I still think it's good. But I'm closer to where JR was now than, like, where I was last week when I first caught the ending. And so I'll probably give it, like, I'll give it, like, a 7, too. I think the story is good. But I think that similar to what we were saying last week, I think that it's I know other stories that Remender's done that like blow my mind, and this is like a great story and you should read it, but like it hasn't blown my mind.
It also feels a little rushed throughout some of it too. I felt like, the whole moving to Tokyo and all of a sudden there's like a big city there now. I felt like they could have spread this out a little bit more, maybe make it into 6 issues or something. But the fact that it was only 10 total, and it just felt there's like points where I'm like, man, this is kind of rushed. Like I read through it again today, and it just like I'm like I missed stuff from the first one because I think you get so involved in the story when you read them together that you're like, oh man, it's like binging, right? We just binge the whole story, and then all of a sudden I go through it today and I'm like, man, some of this stuff feels a little bit rushed. Like maybe they said, hey, instead of doing 20 issues, we're going to make you only do 10. And he's like, fuck, I got to cut that out. You know what I mean? And I did feel like felt like it was rushed a little.
Okay, so we got 2 7s. It's interesting because the fact that last week Zach was talking about how he thought my rating would go up after reading the second part, and now his rating has actually gone down since he's been sitting on it. And I just read the second volume 2 days ago, and I was hyped. I was loving it. I was way more into the second than the first. I was listening to music and reading it and drinking. And when Deb came in on that fucking army of like nature,
she was on that giant elk,
stags, riding the elk, and all these fucking like leaves are like just flowing through the city, and Davey's like, oh, now we got a battle. And I was listening to music, and fucking Humble came on by Kendrick. Like that's why I was singing it earlier, and I was like, oh my fuck, like this part is dope.
That's a pretty good song.
So it was just like bam 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 now bam.
Sit down,
bam,
be humble.
Bam, bam. Yeah, it was just like perfect timing. I was like, dude, this is sick. And then like the dialogue was okay, but the underlying like the art was great. The bubbles, like the little shots of like what the TV was saying, is fucking hilarious. Even better, arguably, in the second. And it made me fucking think about a lot of shit that I do in my personal life. Like when there's some line about how instant gratification is poison, basically. Like when you have an instant payoff, you don't appreciate anything, and you just go on to the next, and it makes you just go. Like you're talking about binging. Like binging is ruining TV shows, if you ask me. And it's like I'm not gonna stop because I enjoy it, but like you don't appreciate like Stranger Things. I like season 3 of watching a day just gone. When like I would like you'd camp on a fucking and like let it sit. Like it's really hard to know how you feel about something, Zach, until you sit on it for a week, right? Like it's you don't have that very much anymore. So it's so relevant and current. So I mean maybe if I sit on this for a week, I'll cool off a little bit too. But I really enjoyed the second one, and I'm giving it 8.5. And I think last week I gave it like a 7.5. So my rating went up. And then we can close it out. Vin Boy, the fanboy. Where are we at on the second?
So fuck you. No, all right, no. I would say, you already called me a fanboy. This is my favorite miniseries. I gave the first volume an 8.5. I'm just gonna start by saying I'm gonna give this one a 9.5. And all right. You guys are really focusing on Remender, and he's a great writer, and the story is awesome, but I think the people who really shine throughout this entire book is Sean Murphy and Matt Hollingsworth. Like, the art, to me, is what stood out, and when I read all my comics books, that's really what intrigues me the most about it, is, like, I love opening a page, and if it's, like, a huge panel, I'll seriously sit there and just gawk at it. And just like look at it, not even read the story, kind of just forget and be like, oh fuck, turn to the next page. All right, now I'm back into the dialogue and I get back into it. So when I first grabbed this one, and it's just like, it was an art style that I haven't really seen too much of lately. Image really, I think, focuses on picking very creative artists and colorists for their books. So they did a great job with this one because it's very, very cyberpunk. So it's very neon bright, but it's also very dark. So the contrast between the two really plays with your eyes, and they, like we discussed in the last episode, the details and all the ads, and they're like super goofy, and then they kind of jab at each other, the crew of the whole story. So it doesn't really go with the whole story of the two lovebirds, but it's something else that I think should be pointed out and is like a major staple of this story. With that, I mean, I love this book just because I'm a huge fan of samurai, kung fu, ninja, martial arts, and cyberpunk stuff. So this is like everything I've ever loved put in together. And if you're going to throw in a love story that I could actually be engaged with to want to read, then of course I'm going to love it even more. But it was one of my favorite books. That's why I give it a 9.5. But I think, like I said, the art is the true,
Art's the MVP.
The MVP of this book. Like, Remender's a great writer. This is a great story. I could kind of agree with JR saying it's a little bit rushed, but I'm also a fan of short stories. It's really hard for me to subscribe to stuff because like once I read like 10 issues of something, I'm starting to get bored of it and I don't want to wait another week for it or month or something like that. So
You want that instant gratification?
not only that, but I want to move on to another story. I like to read multiple stories. I don't want to I have like a shit ton of Deadpool volumes.
There's just so much.
Exactly. I have this fucking 8 volumes of this Deadpool saga I have, and I love it, but it was hard for me to fucking get through, and I'm still going through East of West, and that's another. Yeah, I like short stories. I can read it, get ending, I get satisfaction. I get satisfied. God, I'm fucking drunk. Kirin Ichiban.
Yeah. Get you drunk.
Anyways, 9.5. I love this story. You should go out and read it if you're a fan of short stories and Kung Fu Katanas love.
Kung Fu Katanas and love.
But, I don't know. The whole addiction to tech, too, I feel like is really real. Because there's plenty of times where I zone out on my phone and I'm just like, why was I doing that?
All the time.
Hey,
Aren't you guys playing WoW?
Hey,
WoW?
that I feel
Dude,
attacked.
I don't
right
want
now.
to talk
That's
about that right now because
attacked.
I'm feeling like we're getting personal all of a sudden, and I'm like honestly offended.
And just to let you know, the reason why I look off of this camera and look
Notice
onto
how
this screen
neither
is because
Vinny or
I'm
I
grinding
even
right
brought
now.
that up.
I'm trying to level up my crafting.
Guys,
And
this over the weekend, I heard word in the group chat that you found a healer.
This is a group chat?
this is what you get, JR, for bringing up WoW.
Super charming.
Us three did a really good job.
Probably can
of not
enchant
bringing it
really
up,
well.
and then you bring it
Probably
up.
looks good in a robe.
And
or
now we're
something.
getting into deep issues with Jordan has right now because we found a new Jordan.
I feel like I've been replaced, and I get it. I haven't been there for you guys when you needed me, but damn.
Jordan, no, we're still here for you. It was temporary. It was
probably
just
better
a
looking than
fling.
me.
It
Probably
didn't mean
funnier than me.
anything.
His name is Father Yum Yum.
I hate that name.
Shout out to Father Yum
Shout out to
Yum.
Father Yum Yum with the heels.
Fuck you, Father Young.
All right.
You're taking my friends.
All right.
All right, let's
Sorry,
close it
brought it
out.
up.
So that
Sorry.
rounds it up.
It's craft.
That rounds it up to an 8. It's a hard 8.
Okay.
So
pretty good.
Our
Pretty
score
good.
went up
Pretty
from 7.5 to 8, and I feel like that makes sense to me.
I think that makes sense too. I think Volume 2 is better than Volume 1.
Hands down.
Yeah, I think it's a solid read, and yeah, you guys should go fucking check it out. Anything you guys want to give a shout out to before we close down?
I'll do one. I'll give a shout out to Action City. Held my books for about a month. I had that many comic books, and Doug, we're gonna have to get him on the show soon eventually because it's pretty awesome, and he's learning comics. He's excited about the comics he's learning and he's reading, and so it's shout out to Action City. He's always been a great supporter of Hop Heroes, and but that's oh yeah, and again I'm going to rent Rose City Comic Con next weekend, so that should be fun. I'll document some of that.
Awesome.
Have some fun with
Awesome.
it. Have some fun with it. All right. Z, anything you want to plug?
Oz.com, rzenith.com. We got some great shows. We're doing some big things. Maybe adding a video game streamer to the team, which is going to be
Getting twitchy with it?
really exciting. So yeah, we're growing, we're moving, we're shaking. So just stick with it. Keep with us. Watch us grow.
Dope. Yeah, check us out at Hop Heroes Pod on Instagram and Twitter. Check us out on Facebook, and peep the IG game because Vinny's got it going strong with some dope ass cuts lately. Keep killing the game, Vin. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week, and next week we'll catch you with some Moon Knight, which I am very excited about. Cannot wait.
All right.
Peace.
Laters.